there's these two component model, and this is from Leary and Kowalski. The first is motivational processes, or the degree to which self-presenters are motivated to control how others see them, and two, construction processes, or the actual implementation of a desired impression. Okay, so these are the two parts to self-presentation that they're going to talk about in this theory section of chapter 3. Motivational processes. First, do we care what folks think? If we don't care. We don't have a whole lot of motivation to give them information, or we tend to invest time and effort to present ourselves in certain ways if we actually care about what those folks think. I don't care what some random dude at Bilo thinks about me. So I'm not going to that's why people dress like crap when they go to Bilo or Walmart. I mean, you don't care. But then, of course, you run into somebody sometimes that you want to, you care what they think about you. It's like, oh, I can't believe I'm whatever. So, do we care about what they think about us? And that, if so, that motivates us to be more thoughtful about our self-presentation. Also, motivation is increased in light of our relational goals. What are the goals that we might have? For instance, if one perceives finding a marriage partner a more important than connecting with friends, one will be more motivated to carefully control one's online dating self-presentation than one's self-presentation on friendship-related websites such as Facebook. Though, I would think that somebody was going to try to also find you on Facebook. But so what you're motivated, your relational goals sometimes. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful on this. So think about LinkedIn, right? This is online dating, but I'm going to be much more careful there because I know it's a job thing than someplace over here. So what are my goals? My goals over here is to get a job. My goal over here is just to make people giggle. Okay. Also, our motivation to again present a certain type of self is increased if we anticipate future interaction, which is again why, if we're hanging out in an airport, we're not too damn concerned about what people might think of us, in part because we'll never see them again in our entire lives, which always makes me sad. Sometimes when I'm at the airport, I just want to stop somebody who's rushing to their airplane and say, I care for you. Would you like to have a relationship? That would be funny. Oh. Okay. So there's lots of stuff on page 43 about all that type of stuff. Generally speaking, the anticipation of future interaction, whether face-to-face or mediated, should result in greater motivation to control impressions than when there is no anticipation of future interaction. Duh. The anticipation of face-to-face interaction should result in greater motivation to impression manage than the anticipation of mediated interaction when the self-presenter's goals need to be accomplished in the face-to-face environment, such as dating. These people can't write. I hate science writing. Basically, so particularly if you're on an online site, right, dating site, and you anticipate that it will lead to a face-to-face interaction, you're going to be more motivated to present a certain present self in a certain way. If you think, even online, that, this is why maybe Facebook, I don't know, that maybe you're friends with somebody, but there's no chance in hell you'll actually ever see them face to face. Maybe you don't care as much. I don't know. Who cares? Motivation also increased if stuff is public. So, again, and then pretty much everything online is public. So that's another thing. So basically, what we think, if we think things are going to be out there and a lot of people will see them, we tend to care more deeply about how people see us. That's why we wear funny slippers at home and not out, though sometimes people do, and I think it's cool. So basically it says, in this case, the motivation to, okay, the online environment alters the publicness of one's behavior in several important ways. At one end of the spectrum, it can render online behavior completely anonymous in a way that is impossible in face-to-face settings. Obviously, you can do whatever you want to. In that case, the motivation for impression management should be low. At the other end of the spectrum, the online environment can offer a considerable degree of publicness to people who may never have such arenas for public behavior in face-to-face environments. For instance, personal websites and blogs are visible to audiences of millions, and users are in a position to broadcast their opinions and thoughts to the public at large. The online world can also make self-presentational acts more permanent by preserving a record of the self-presentation that is available for long periods of time, forever. So, all these, it's part of this big process. How motivated are we to present a certain type of self? And so this is what it says. So if we care about what people think, we're more motivated. And we are more motivated if we are trying to reach certain relational goals. We are more motivated if we think that we're going to have some sort of anticipated future interaction. And we are more motivated to present a certain type of self if we know tons of people are going to see it. Then we get to the construction process. Again, this is about constructing a desired image. First, the motivation to construct a desired image. Now, the process or the implementation, they say. Deciding on desired impression. How do folks see themselves, and how do they see the values of their audience? That's one of the main things that folks talk about or think about. So, how do I see myself? And how do I want my audience to see me? That's pretty much it, this first part. Basically, and this is really interesting, the book talks about how we have a repertoire of self-images that we can choose from. And that's interesting because, I mean, a lot of folks think we have one identity. We're trying to find our one true self. There's no such thing as one true self. We are multiple selves all at the same time. But we do have different aspects of ourselves that we want to show certain people. So, that's when they move into talking about self-concept, which is an important concept about self. Yeah. Okay. So apparently, there are 3 dimensions to self-concept. The actual self, the ideal self, and the ought self. Actual self is who you are, I guess, even if it's not static. Ideal self is who we want to be. Ideally, I would be. The ought self is what ought I do. I gotta follow rules. I can't not. Actual self, ideal self, I want to run around naked. Ought self, I can't do that because I'm going to get arrested. And so generally research says we strike a balance, strike a pose between all of these 3 things and who we are, sort of the balance. Freud would talk about that too. Okay, so however, that's not always the case. It does say, however, the more motivated self-presenters are to impress their audience, the more they tend to select aspects of their ideal self. So if I really, really want to impress somebody, maybe I don't show them the actual self, I show them the ideal self. It is also noteworthy that people are often proud of aspects of their actual self, and when the motivation to impress the audience is high, they are likely to make a deliberate effort to display these aspects. No kidding. All right? So I'm glad that this is who I am. So here it is. So Self-concept. Looking at who are we, but also we're thinking about who they be. All right, who's my audience? Who's out there? And so we need to think about being strategic in light of, very obviously, other folks. So basically, we're always tailoring ourselves to the situation, to the context. Just like we're always tailoring a speech to a particular audience, we are tailoring us to a particular audience. That's pretty much it. They do say, often the ought self is used. They say, blah, 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 blah. Where is it? The characteristics, for instance, people constructing self-presentations for job searches will emphasize job-related skills and competence, no doubt, whereas those looking for romantic partners will play out to the preferences of those potential partners. What do they prefer? So I'm going to do that. These characteristics often correspond to the ought self, or how people think they should be in order to be successful in a certain social arena. These are the types of people who are apparently attractive in light of our contemporary milieu. Yeah. And then, like, for instance, people say they're honest. A particularly important of such characteristics is honesty. A social norm dictate that people who are as they appear to be. Self-presenters then face pressure to present themselves in a flattering manner while not deviating from the truth substantially or in ways that cannot be justified.